I think I'm entitled.
You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
President Trump is dead serious on this issue. He's dead serious that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. He's dead serious that he wants it done at the negotiating table. He wants it done peacefully. And that's why he's going straight to these talks. If we can't figure this out at the negotiating table, then there are other options, to include my department, to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear bomb.
That is Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. And he says other options include my department, military action. These are reference to talks we were holding over the weekend, indirect talks with Iran on trying to resolve differences, which began first with something that Iran does not want to yield, and that is give up all of its nuclear weapons ambitions. We'll break it down for you. We've got a lot to cover today. As always, glad to have you on board. Our number one, Larry Connors USA. Reminding you, when we're on the air, we are streaming video. You can watch the program. You go to NewsTalkSTL, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and you can go to Larry Connors USA, Rumble, Facebook. And reminding you, everything goes up as a podcast when we complete. Available at NewsTalkSTL, LarryConnorsUSA.com, and Larry Connors USA Facebook. And reminding you, with Larry Connors USA, you are going to get news, analysis, opinion, but also education. Before we finish our program each day, you're going to walk away with more knowledge than you had before we started. I can guarantee it. So again, glad to have you on board. And certainly wishing a happy Passover to our Jewish friends. Their Passover celebration started Saturday. It goes to Sunday, which is actually Easter this year for Christians. So their best of the Passover for our friends of the Jewish faith as they relive their exodus under God's help to get free of Egypt. Now, reminding you, too, coming up this week, yes, we finally reached the date, April 16. Yeah, you know, you might have been thinking about yesterday day coming tomorrow, April 15, Texas. Yes, you need to deal with that. But April 16, we got something for you to enjoy. Have some fun. Come out to the St. Charles Funny Bone and join us. We're going to have as our guest Mayor Glenn Jacobs, Knoxville County, Tennessee, former world wrestling champ. And he's talking about torching the tax, getting rid of state income tax. This is in concert with the Americans for Prosperity. We'll be joining them and encourage you to join us. It costs you nothing to get in, but we have limited seating. And honestly, at this very moment, I'm not sure if we have any more seats open. But your best chance will be to go to NewsTalkSTL and apply now or first thing tomorrow morning. I would not wait much longer. There's going to be a lot of fun around this and not just talking boring economics. Oh, coming up later, this is a special notice to Speaker Tim Jones, who just wrapped his program with Chris Arps with us, right here on NewsTalkSTL. Mr. Speaker, your favorite guest will be on in a few moments. John LeBoutier, former New York Congressman, never Trumper, and Speaker Tim Jones does not like what John LeBout stands for. So, not trying to stick the Speaker in the eye, but just giving him advance notice, and you as well. John LeBout will join us later. Now, to the Iran issue with Trump. A question got asked of him, what about these talks? How are they proceeding?
Can you give us an update on Iran?
Well, we're going to be doing it very shortly. Iran also, it was another way. I met with a different group of people in Iran, and we'll be making a decision on Iran very quickly.
We heard a readout from both sides, from the United States and the Iranian side, that were very positive words. And we know that there is a follow-up meeting scheduled for 7 days later, this coming Saturday. Location seems to be determined to be in Europe, and making it easier on our special envoy, Steve Witkoff. And so we've heard, again, positive words come out of the meeting. But let's be real that the president is very sanguine on the Iranian threat. In the past, he's called this regime a fanatical and radical regime. Our president is very clear on the nature of this regime. And at the same time that these talks are taking place, we know that the United States has brought in a tremendous amount of military assets into the region. And this is also at the same time where we've seen 3 weeks of an aerial assault on Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen. So I think the message to the Iranians is loud and clear. We're giving you the path to diplomacy, but beware that the military option is very credibly on the table.
On the table, on the sea, in the Red Sea, and around the Middle East. That's a former State Department advisor. We have given them an option to get rid of their nuclear program. The talks held in Oman over this last weekend were again the beginning of the latest talks. And again, more talks will be set for this coming Saturday. I'm looking at headlines as you see it treated by the leftist media. And you know what? Here's something to keep in mind. I know some are not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are those in the media that absolutely want to see us fail with Iran. They want Iran to have nuclear weapons. The New York Times headline, U.S. nuclear talks with Iran move forward, but many pitfalls lie ahead. Well, that's accurate. I won't deny it. The Associated Press, Iran and U.S. envoys hold first negotiation over Tehran's nuclear program. That's pretty straightforward. Al Jazeera, Iran to consult Russia on U.S. nuclear talks. Rome may host the next meeting. That could be, we're told it's going to be in Europe, have not been told exactly where. When they say Rome, do not jump to the fact or the belief that it might be the Vatican. I don't think that's going to happen. USA Today clarifies it this way. This last weekend, quote, constructive, positive talks. Axios, which leans left. Scoop, Iran-U.S. talks expected to continue Saturday in Rome. I think I gave you the scoop, but we'll give them credit for claiming. Scoop, we beat you on it. 4-star retired General Jack King says, we have to keep in mind what is the ultimate goal.
I think what their position is going to be is they're going to want to freeze the program in place, something that they have done in the past, and that would keep it close to the threshold capability within a couple of weeks of having a nuclear weapon. They may give up some enriched uranium. They may give up some centrifuges. They likely will not give up any of their secret sites and their deeply buried sites, but that's completely different from where the administration position is. They want them to voluntarily dismantle your entire program, give up the highly enriched uranium, give up the centrifuges, give up the facilities themselves, give up the missiles that are going to deliver these systems, and then, and this is key, anywhere, anytime inspections. In other words, independent inspectors determine where to go to look and verify what is taking place. The Iranians have never granted that, and that is one of the reasons why we're in this position today with the Iranians so close to a nuclear weapon, because they let inspectors go to X, but meanwhile at Y is a secret site, and they're continuing to develop nuclear weapons.
That should be a given. They're playing hide the nukes, right? And of course, keep in mind, when Obama signed the deal with Iran and other nations, it was not a treaty. Let me stress again, this was not a treaty. He did not put it through the Senate. He signed it and got other leaders of other nations to sign it, basically saying we will ease up on Iran, on the restrictions, and they will not pursue their nuclear development. And the United Nations was basically going to send in United Nations atomic experts to go into Iran and look at facilities. And they later issued some white paper reports, but then one of them actually acknowledged, we never saw anything. We went in, they gave us basically papers saying, here's what's going on, here's what's not going on, but we never got to see anything. Or certainly we were never taken to where they were doing nuclear construction. You can't trust these people. The Iranian people know they cannot trust their leadership. Why should we? We should not. The other big issue, of course, for the U.S. and the nation and the world, the Trump tariffs and how various nations are now reacting. Kevin O'Leary of O'Leary Investment says the biggest issue is right in front of us.
The big behemoth, Stuart, we've been talking about so much is China. We've got to figure out where they sit in trying to come into the narrative. I mean, right now, even over, I want 400%, but that's just bombastic. 100+% wipes out all trade. And so there's boats on the water waiting to bring in product. There's debate about technology like Apple phones, all this stuff. Xi at some point has to take the olive branch that's been offered twice over the weekend by Trump and say, okay, let's start talking. I don't think it's helping him because he doesn't have the option to sell T-bills. People keep saying, oh, he's going to be disruptive by selling T-bills. That will enhance the price of his currency and make his products even less competitive worldwide. That will devastate his economy, which is already on the brink.
And by T-bills, of course, he's talking about Treasury bills. They don't have the capability to make that happen. Trump did say that we're going to give some exemptions for some electronics from China. As a result, stocks suddenly started bouncing back. Now, whatever you're looking at as of earlier today, you can pay attention to it, but don't get locked down into hide and bear and bullish mode one way or the other. Everything will bring a new dawn tomorrow and new look at the stock market and reaction. O'Leary was questioned about do we have, and this question coming from, I believe it was Larry Kudlow, asking specifically, do we have any real threat that we could use or any hold on China?
But does America hold real heavy-duty cards in the negotiation with China?
It does, Stuart, because all that stuff that's made in the factories, almost 39% of it's consumed by Americans. If he can't sell the stuff, those people don't have jobs. And that's going to be a bad outcome for him, really bad outcome, and he knows it. That is the one massive leverage that we have at the table. If this goes on too long, there'll be unemployment or there's going to be massive inflation as he prints money to pay these people in his country. It's 100% stalemate. He's got to come to the table.
Now, he is talking about China, and that was Stuart Varney asking the question. My mistake, it was not Larry Kudlow. But we have to deal with China directly, and we have to keep the pressure on China. Trump has eased restrictions on other nations as they're trying to find some kind of common ground. But other than that, we're continuing to keep the foot down on China. We have hit them with a 150% tariff. They fired back with more. You heard O'Leary said, I'd like to see a 400% tariff on China. And he admits that's bombastic. Not going to happen. Even the 100+% could shut down a lot of trade. But who's going to suffer the worst? That's his point. Not us, the U.S. And I want you to keep in mind the United Auto Workers are also stepping forward and saying, we support what Trump is doing.
We've been very clear. We do believe, and we know, when it comes to auto, when it comes to heavy truck and agricultural implement, we know that tariffs will influence these companies to do the right thing and reinvest in this country and reinvest in factories in this country. You know, it's interesting, Stellantis, as Trump was announcing the tariff, announced at the same moment that they were going to lay off 800 people. That didn't change as Trump was making an announcement. To me, it's just trying to bait people. At the end of the day, we believe that Stellantis and these companies will bring work back because of these tariffs. I mean, look what they've done without them. Since NAFTA was inception in 1993, we've lost 90,000 manufacturing facilities in this country, millions of jobs. And these weren't, low-end jobs. These were jobs that paid decent wages, had good benefits.
And they went away because of past policies. And again, that's the president of the United Auto Workers, Sean Fain, saying we're with the president on this. We think he can force them to return to the U.S. Where are we seeing a lot of that happen anyway? When they come back in, building new factories, retooling old ones, opening up a whole new industrial complex for our nation and Americans, highly paid jobs. But the Democrats and the leftists have found their word of the day. Yeah, they have a word that they put up in big signs and letters for all the Dems to see, so they all should repeat this word. Because when it refers to Trump and the tariffs, they like this word. It's a 4-letter word, by the way. Let me see. C-H-A-O. I stand corrected. It's 5, but I'm thinking it's 4. Here's their main word.
We begin this hour with the chaos.
The average American sees chaos. The American people see chaos.
It's total chaos.
You brought chaos.
It's just complete chaos.
Unleashed an economic chaos.
They unleash chaos.
They are creating chaos.
This chaos.
Well, there's too much chaos.
Total chaos.
That amidst the chaos,
we're going to see chaos.
After seeing all the chaos,
the chaos he has unleashed on America.
Continue to see the chaos. Economic chaos.
A lot more chaos.
Trump's chaos.
This is chaos with such chaos.
The chaos, because of this chaos. Chaos.
All of this chaos.
Uncertainty and chaos.
Given all that chaos.
When it's chaos.
All the chaos. Chaos and confusion grows.
More chaos, dysfunction.
The chaos is the purpose. The chaos is the goal.
It's chaos.
Over and over again. Wash, rinse, recycle, do it again. Just keep spreading the word. Maybe people will keep on believing, yeah, there's a lot of chaos. There doesn't really seem to be a lot of chaos except in the minds of the leftists. But we'll give you another take on it coming up from my next guest. Some of you love to hate him. Maybe not him personally, but his views. He's a never-Trumper, former Reaganite, former U.S. Congressman, John LeBoutier. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
In all these years that Wellington Environmental has been my sponsor, I've never mentioned their duct cleaning services. Allergy season is here, and Wellington crews clean air ducts daily in homes and commercial buildings, also cleaning air handling units and diffusers in commercial facilities. Why? Well, because people will see black dirt and mold on the vents, or they are actually suffering from allergies. Don't be fooled by low-cost duct cleaning providers saying they charge only per vent, because once they get on site, the price will skyrocket. Wellington does not do this, never has. Wellington will give you an estimate, and you say Larry Connors, and immediately you get a 20% discount. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 314-644-4930. Make your home and business better, safer with Wellington. Be well with Wellington. Ackerman Toyota is #1 in sales for 2024. That is 2 years in a row. It's really no surprise. Ackerman has the largest customer lounge where you can relax, take your time choosing new or premium pre-owned. Ackerman at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Thank you for making Ackerman Toyota #1 2 years in a row. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life. John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call John Beal to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Beal has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Beal. Got a great fun idea for you. The Oak Street Inn and Lounge Speakeasy, now open, but you need a passcode to get in. Easy to get. Just visit the Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook. I got my code. Get yours. We'll gather at the Speakeasy. Oak Street Inn and Lounge in Cottleville. Plus, enjoy some fine dining. Visit the Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook for your Speakeasy passcode. Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook. Get your code now. This is great patio season to enjoy any of the Cafe Napoli locations, including Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. You'll be enjoying coal-fired pizza, nothing else like it. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. A few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, where you can enjoy premium cigars, whiskeys, watch the Masters, a major UFC fight, baseball. Check for details at the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. Lit Cigar.
This is News Talk STL.
Well, I started out with $1 lone, gambled with a man and I won me another, bought me a gun and I robbed my brother. I'm bad, but I don't care, boys. Gonna be a millionaire.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Welcome back, and my guest we've had on numerous times. A lot of you love to hate his ideas. I don't think you hate him. We've had that discussion before. But John LeBoutier, former U.S. Congressman from New York, and also author of the book Harvard Hates America, which we all now certainly agree he was right. And on top of that, he is a never Trumper. He went in under Reagan, and remains a Reaganite, never Trumper. John, welcome aboard again.
Good afternoon here. Good morning to you, Larry. Great to talk to you. Happy Easter week, by the way.
Yes, Passover started yesterday for our Jewish friends, and now we're into Easter week. Easter will start on the same day Passover ends this year.
Yep.
John, let's begin with your thoughts on the talks the president had set up, indirect talks with the U.S. and Iran. Do you see anything of value in that so far?
Right. Of course. And by the way, they turned out to be direct talks for 45 minutes on Saturday in Oman. The president's negotiator, this guy, Steve Witkoff, actually talked directly for 45 minutes with the Iranian foreign minister. This is to try to make a nuclear deal.
Right.
They're going to meet again on Saturday in Rome. They both sides admit they're preliminary talks to set up a structure to work this out. I totally agree with Trump to try to do this diplomatically, with the possibility that if the Iranians don't do it or screw around, the option remains on the table to bomb their nuclear sites, either by us or Israel or both, to set back or permanently end their nuclear program. That, as every president for the last 3 or 4 American presidents has the same position, which is Iran must not be allowed to have an operational nuclear weapon.
However, Obama opened the door for them to continue and saying, it won't happen on my watch, but we're going to go ahead and let them proceed.
Well, he did a nuclear deal that, I don't know what you said either way is true or not true, because what that deal supposedly did was slow down their ability to enrich uranium to the level you need for a nuclear weapon. Yes, they could enrich uranium for medical purposes, and they are doing that. But with the agreement we made with them, it slowed them down.
Really?
We
don't. How do we know that?
Well, there were inspections
We never got to see. We never got to
knowledge.
see their building nuclear missile program. Man.
Correct. Well, they have secret programs that they don't want us to know about,
Right.
and that is at the heart of this thing.
Right.
Last year, when Israel retaliated against Iran for the missile attacks into Israel, they wiped out the air defense system of Iran. They have denuded it. So Israel or the United States or us together, we can go in there now anytime we want and bomb anything we want, and our pilots are quite safe. And the Iranians know that. And so, I think we've got the hammer on top of them. And let's see if we can get somewhere on this thing.
And we've got 2 carriers in the Red Sea now. We've been after the Houthis. We made it very clear that we do have the military option. It is not only just on the table, it's in your face right now.
Correct. Oh, and they must be freaking out in Tehran, and I hope they are, because look at what Israeli intelligence has done to them.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've done a pretty tough job on Hamas in the Gaza Strip, but Hezbollah has been completely wiped out in Lebanon. That thing with the pagers and the cell phones was the most brilliant intelligence thing we've ever seen. And then the coup de grace was when the new president of Iran was inaugurated late last summer in Tehran. The Hamas representative went back to the government guest house in Tehran after the ceremony. And by remote control, the Israelis blew his room up and killed him. All because they pre-planted explosives and cameras in the government guest house in Tehran.
Yeah, what a deal.
They have penetrated the Iranian government to such a level that they know exactly what they're up to and can wipe them out anytime they want. And that has got to be a factor that the Iranians take into account when they negotiate on this nuclear thing.
And, of course, the Iranian people themselves. But let me move to another subject very briefly. The tariffs. Your thoughts on how Trump is handling tariffs at this point?
I think he botched it. I think he went too far. He's too erratic. The market showed it. It was not well handled. I don't like to come on here and just trash Trump. I just praised him for having talks on the nuclear thing.
Right.
And I will praise him for doing this time what he didn't do in his first term, which is effectively seal up the southern border within 7 weeks of his inauguration. Right. That is what he said he would do. I think he's done it. I give him credit. The tariff thing has just been erratic. And I don't really understand. I don't think anybody understands why it's done the way it is. They shift every hour, it seems. This is tariff. No, I'm taking the tariffs. I'm exempting this. We're doing that. That whole thing, threatening Canada to be the 51st state, that to me, that is not serious stuff. That's not the way to run this country.
Do you not think some of that is trolling and just saying, I'm going to throw it out there and watch them go crazy over it?
Well, I don't think that's the role of the president. I don't think we should take our best ally and neighbor, Canada, and in any way be aggressive or threatening or insulting to the prime minister, calling him governor and all that. I don't. Would Reagan have done that? No, I don't. I just think that's childish, and that's the downside of Trump that I don't think helps him.
Well, the other part of that is that it is waking them up. They are paying more attention. And the countries that were suddenly crying out that this is too much, all 70 different nations have reached out. What do we do to ease the tariffs on our country? He's already stepped forward.
They've said that now that they've lowered it to 25 countries, said they're willing to have talks.
I don't know what the latest. It's kind of like following the stock market. You can't pin everything today on what you see with the stock market, nor for tomorrow. But Greece's vice president is rooting for Trump in this trade war against China, saying we need the U.S., or rather the West will not survive without a strong U.S. I think most of the European Union recognizes that because they have also turned their back on China.
Well, wait a sec. The European Union they want to join with us against China.
Right.
No question.
Right.
Why is Trump going after the European Union?
For all countries that are imposing a tariff upon us, we want reciprocal, and he doesn't hit them tit for tat. He goes 50%. That's fair.
But Larry, he took over 11 weeks ago. The economy was substantially better 11 weeks ago than it is today. This tariff stuff and the on-again, off-again nature of it has talked down consumer confidence, consumer spending. People are worried. They feel now that a recession is coming. It hasn't worked.
John,
you want to have a trade war with China? Okay. But the way to do it is to get all the Western countries and Australia and New Zealand, everybody in a united alliance against China. That's the way to do it.
Australia turned their back on them. The EU has turned their back on them. England's already turned their back on them. And as far as folks feeling like maybe the economy's not doing as well, I see a lot of CNN source surveys saying that, but I don't see anything I really trust.
I saw the gold standard is the University of Michigan.
Oh, yeah, I quoted that the other day. Yeah, that's a gold standard, University of Michigan.
Yeah, that particular study is the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment poll. It's done every month. And this latest finding last week was 50.8% of people have confidence in the economy. It's down from 57 1 month ago. It's a huge drop. And that is worrisome. And this is all mental and emotional. You know, it's if people fear a recession, they pull back on their consumer spending. You stop spending, guess what happens? The economy slows down.
We will see. That's what they said the sentiment is. Your sentiment is that your sentiment?
I'm just watching it. I don't see evidence of it in my own life. I go to stores and there's still people there.
Right.
I went to a restaurant for a late lunch on Saturday. Place was jammed. So I don't see it yet. But I'm not around 300 million people either. I go with the University of Michigan. They're pretty good. If they say they're picking up doubts about it, I think there probably are doubts.
Yeah, okay. I think since you're going shopping and dining and everything, maybe I need to get up to New York and have you treat me. See how that affects your recession.
Consumer spending. Get up here and we'll do some consumer spending.
John, as always, I thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Larry. Talk to you soon.
You bet. John Laboutiere. Always a great, engaging guest. Coming up, Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, you got to watch out for those MAGA people. Stand by, please.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
I've got a phone number for you and a website where you can take a free, quick survey to learn how to use artificial intelligence, AI, to put your company on a fast track to the future. Here's the number. It's a 636 area code, 636-689-0545. 689-0545. This is PRI Global. And recently, the St. Louis Business Journal named PRI Global as a leading IT consulting company. 25 years working with hundreds of companies, several Fortune 500, locally and around the world. PRI Global has its own AI lab to develop what's best for your company. Take the free survey and be on your way to the future. 636-689-0545. 689-0545. Or go direct, priglobal.ai. priglobal.ai. Looking for a great place to watch your favorite game? Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. TVs everywhere, premium cigars, special beers, single barrel whiskey. You do not have to be a member. There's a good chance we'll see each other at Lit Cigar Lounge. Plus, we can order from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. Our order will be delivered to our table within minutes. Sometimes hard to decide, but always the right decision at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. I have several questions for you, but there's only one answer. Who has the most 5-star reviews for windows in St. Louis? Renewal by Anderson. Who is the Post-Dispatch Window Retailer of the Year? Renewal by Anderson. Who is the J.D. Power Award winner 5 years in a row? The same. Renewal by Anderson. Dial pound 250 and say Windows. Pound 250, say Windows. Renewal by Anderson. A better way to a better window. Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. It means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
This is NewsTalk STL.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
These MAGA extremists are trying to jam a reckless budget down the throats of the American people, take away health care from the American people,
No, they're not.
strip away veterans' benefits
No, they're not.
from the American people, and hurt nutritional assistance and literally take food out of the mouths of babies in America. Why? Because they want to pass massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors and puppet masters like Elon Musk. This is Republican policy in America, and it's a complete and total disaster.
And Hakeem Jeffries makes a great clown, full of silly nonsense remarks. Literally take food out of the mouth of children literally means some Republican would walk up to a child who's about to eat something and just take it away from them. You can't have that. Not because it's bad for your health. I'm just saying you can't have it. That's not happening. Nor is any of the other. These guys are still doing their best to push fear-mongering. As you were listening, I hope, in the first part of this hour, their magic word now is chaos. Everything's chaotic. Oh, my God, we got chaos. All because of Trump. They will continue to harp on that word. And now Hakeem Jeffries saying they're just going to, this MAGA people, they're going to run over America. This is not going to help us. They're going to rob your Social Security. Elon Musk has pointed out millions that were on Social Security that were illegals that never should have been given a Social Security number. Oh, who gave them that number? Well, that would be the Biden administration. Millions given out. And now they're trying to cancel them and get them off the rolls. Who's stealing from your Medicare, Medicaid programs? Again, those brought in by Biden and illegal, and they got a Social Security number, so then they get to take part of it. They're the ones taking your money. They just don't want to consider that. And yet you get the uninformed on the left, like AOC, say, really what's going on here? With all this money that Musk is supposedly pulling back through Doge, raking back, clawing back, she wants to suggest that it's going to him and his fellow bigwigs.
It sure seemed like he did. I don't think that it was a coincidence. I don't think that Trump just coincidentally said buy stocks and then shortly later made an announcement that dramatically inflated and dramatically raised a lot of these asset prices. And, you know, I've heard murmurings on the floor that there may have been people that knew that this was coming.
Yeah. Everybody knew it was coming. They even put it on their social media. Buy stocks. And, of course, stocks went up, then they went down. Then they went up, then they went down. And wherever they settle today makes no difference. Their belief is all of this is being manipulated so Trump and his cronies can make more money. Elon Musk does not need more money, period. The American people do, and he's been fighting to protect your money. But you're not going to hear her cry out for that because that means they've got to point to some of their own insiders. When they want to talk about insider trading, which is what she is suggesting, have they ever raised one question at any one time against Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Bernie, for that matter? No, they just don't seem to get around to that. And therein lies a great story. But they don't want the story. They just want to make smoke and have you think there's a real fire. And then you get the left going so far overboard. Lawrence O'Donnell, MSNBC, pontificates a lot. He likes to think of himself as very aloof. He's above you, the unwashed. Lawrence O'Donnell, basically, when he does his presentation, he's almost looking down his nose at you because you are unwashed. And he's warning you now that Trump is going to go after American citizens.
It is only now clear to me that this case does not just increase the risk of being seized and deported just for people who are in this country without documentation or for people who are in this country on student visas or visas of any kind, including a green card. I knew that. I did not know that the argument made by Donald Trump in this case is a threat to every single person in the United States, every citizen, every non-citizen, every single one of us. What Donald Trump's former criminal defense lawyer is saying to the Supreme Court, in effect, is that Donald Trump can now have any person seized at any time, anywhere.
No, that's not exactly right at all. But since you wanted to bring up this issue with the Supreme Court and seizing and deporting people, there is a ruling out that shows that the court is going to go ahead and allow, let me see if I can get it here in front of me fast enough. This involves Khalil, the University of student that was shouting anti-Semitic remarks, participating in rallies and things of that nature. The decision has been made, there's so many sources for it, basically, that the court's going to agree that, yeah, he can be deported. That's what it comes down to. But that doesn't mean American citizens can be deported. Never let the facts get in the way of a good story. And the left never does. And they'll create news stories as they need to. Well, something happened today that's very interesting. First of a kind, first time it's happened, may or may not happen again. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But before that, you often see these pleas for help to help children or pets on TV or listen to them on the radio. Does your heart break for kids or animals when you see them in those cases? Do you find yourself reaching for your money, your credit card, or a check to send in and help out? Well, that's good because you have empathy for them. But the caution line is, a lot of these so-called charities are helping themselves a lot more than they are the kids and the pets. That story when we continue.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open Napoli, Kirkwood.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Kids Wish Network. Look at this. They raised $127 million. They paid to solicitors $109 million. And they spent percentage on direct cash aid to the actual kids is 2.5%. 2.5%. Look at the Cancer Fund of America. Less than 1% went to the actual thing.
Those are statements by Joe Rogan looking at some of these charities that want your money to help out the kids. Want you to do something to help the kids or pets that have been abandoned. They pull on your heartstrings, and eventually they lead to your credit card, your checking account, or your cash. But the problem is how much of it actually goes to the kids, the charity itself, those in need. Therein lies a big issue. And Joe Rogan was pointing out, like on some of these, he said, you got these guys out there, and they are claiming they're doing all this good, but in fact, they're not. When you look at how much money they're taking and where they're spending it, like he said, the Kids Wish Network, these are his statements. I don't know how accurate it is, but I want to go with his statement. They raised $127 million to grant a kid a wish. $127 million. Often these are kids dealing with possible illness that's going to be life-threatening, if not soon. But to raise 127, they paid out $109 million to get that money to come in to those organizers. The actual aid spent to the kids, according to Joe Rogan in this case, only 2.5% of that money. I'll tell you, I have the same problem with GoFundMe groups. I've participated in some to help out people. But then I look at how much they take out. I'd rather just send the money to the people that need it, because the GoFundMe applicable fees end up being 25+%. Well, that's, if I give them $1 straight, then they get that $1. But if I give it to the GoFundMe, they only get 75 cents of it. I have a hard time justifying that. Charities ideally spend a higher percentage of their budget on program expenses directly related to the cause and on administrative and fundraising costs if they're run correctly, efficiently. A common guideline is to spend at least 65% on expenses. Some consider 75% or higher to be highly efficient. You get to overhead, which includes fundraising, administrative costs, it should be below 35%. The rest of it should be going for the kids or whatever you're trying to do and what is needed to administer it. But, of course, even then, I want to be careful about how it's being administered. Earlier today, I'd mentioned there was something that took place. It was a first of its kind. It may be repeated again. In fact, pop star Katy Perry said it, and I'm going to quote her. She said, we're going to put the ass into astronaut. Katy Perry, Jeff Bezos' girlfriend, and also CBS News anchor Gail, whatever her name is, they were all aboard a flight that blasted off from western Texas around 8:30 this morning, went straight up, detached, later fell back to the ground, slowed by parachutes. But it's the first time a full crew operated by Blue Origin did it, and Jeff Bezos put these women in for the first time, all women. But there's more to this story. But it also reminds me, for those of you who recall, the honeymooners.
One of these days, all right, bang, soon, I'm going to the moon.
Baby, you're the greatest.
Ralph Kramer often telling Alice, you're going to the moon. And, of course, nowadays that'd be considered abuse. And it wasn't that he was truly hitting her at that point either. But this effort today by Blue Origin, and they got a lot of attention. They made the Larry Connors USA program. Good for them. But they put all of these women aboard basically a rocket to go into space for a period of time and then come back down. They were 60 miles above the Earth. That is absolutely in space. The Amazon founder, Jeff Bezos, put it together. But it reminds me of something, if you've ever read or saw the movie The Right Stuff. When we began our astronaut program, Chuck Yeager was the first to break the sound barrier. And the movie, by the way, if you watch The Right Stuff, Chuck Yeager is behind the bar where all the astronauts come together after a mission or whatever flight testing. He's the bartender. But Chuck Yeager, at one point, being a true jet pilot, breaking the sound barrier, and he did not want to take part in the NASA program because he said all it is putting somebody in a can, shooting them up into space, and they fall back down. And that is what happened in the beginning. As Chuck Yeager called them, you're basically, anybody that goes up in that damn thing is going to be spam in a can. You don't have any controls. You're just shot up and you come down. We have a latest example of spam in a can taking place today. I will tell you this. We did, and so did the Russians, put monkeys and dogs up for these flights. No experience necessary, no buttons or anything to do. Just send them up, see how they reacted, and then get back down, if we get them back down. That was the beginning of our space program. Now, what the Blue Origin group did today, did it advance our space program in any way, or just advance Jeff Bezos and his group? Well, as I said, they got publicity. Coming up, more on dealing with the tariffs. Remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can hear podcasts of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill. April is big at Lit Cigar Lounge, the place to be to watch the Masters, plus a major UFC fight, and of course baseball, all while enjoying a premium cigar and whiskeys. TVs in every direction. Make your plans. Check the Lit Cigar Facebook for more details. Plus, you can order food from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, delivered within minutes right to your table. By the way, we're in the season for great patio dining. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta has your table waiting. Ackerman Toyota is number one in sales for 2024. That is 2 years in a row. It's really no surprise. Ackerman has the largest customer lounge where you can relax, take your time choosing new or premium pre-owned. Ackerman at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Thank you for making Ackerman Toyota number one 2 years in a row. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life. It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as Support Dogs for Our Brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. I can tell you how to get a free quick quiz to see how artificial intelligence can boost your company's potential. You go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. St. Louis Business Magazine listing PRI as one of the leading IT companies, and PRI has its own AI lab to develop what your business needs. priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai.
This is News Talk STL.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
You know, we've had real abuse of this system where these judges, individual judges, will issue nationwide injunctions to stop President Trump's agenda. It's been abused. The statistics show it. Remember, 67% of all national injunctions over the last 100 years have been issued against one president. His name is Donald J. Trump. And 92% of those were issued by Democrat-appointed judges to the bench. We got to stop that.
We've got to stop it because they're trying to basically block Trump on anything he's trying to do that would benefit our nation. Now, these appellate judges, these lower judges, got put in place during the Biden and Obama administration. Some during the first Trump administration got passed through, which shouldn't have. Some have been there for a long time, but now they've been activated. Basically, they've been given a plan, fire back against anything Trump is trying to do. If it comes to illegal immigration, if it comes to deportation, do anything you can to put a stop to him. And they've been very successful because what they end up doing is challenging him in court on a constant basis. This is, again, lawfare. It's not directly specific, I should say, is not as specifically directed to Trump, but he and our nation are at the end result of it. Whatever they can do to foul up what he's trying to do to get control of our nation, get illegals out of here, and protect our nation, to make you and your family more secure, they are against. They are absolutely against. They will not accept the fact that our nation would be safer if we didn't have all these illegals in the country. That's common sense. But that's the issue. There is no common sense with the left when it comes to anything Trump does. They simply want to label it bad without really looking at it. And when it slaps them back in the face a couple times, they might move and change their opinion a little bit, but they're going to continue to rail against Trump. And the latest effort is get whatever judges we can on our side to shut down Trump. Glad to have you on board with us. Here we are, hour number 2, Larry Connors, USA. We're here every Monday through Friday for you from 6 to 8 p.m. And when we're on the air, we are streaming video. You can watch the program. How do you do that? Very simple. You go to NewsTalkSTL, and you go to NewsTalkSTL Rumble, Larry Connors USA Rumble, Larry Connors USA Facebook. And reminding you, everything goes up as a podcast when we complete the program. So you won't miss anything. And also keep in mind you can subscribe to the program. It's very simple. You just show us that you want the program sent daily to your email. That makes you a subscriber. We do not sell your information. All we need is your name and your email, and it'll be sent to you on a daily basis. Reminding you also with Larry Connors USA, you not only get news, analysis, opinion, but also education. You'll leave every program with more knowledge than you had when we began. That is part of what I'm trying to do on a daily basis for you. Glad to have you on board. Let me remind you, this will be the last call as far as I'm concerned, and this will be for the event taking place Wednesday, April 16, the Americans for Prosperity, teaming up with teaming up with NewsTalkSTL and Larry Connors USA, and bringing in the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Glenn Jacobs. You might remember the name Glenn Jacobs, or better yet, Kane. He was a world wrestler champ known as Kane. Big man, big ideas. And what he's doing is coming to talk about getting rid of state income tax. Illinois residents, you're more than invited to attend. Good luck with getting that done in your state. But still come. And it costs you nothing, but here's the deal. You need to let us know that you're going to be there. We only have so many seats, and honestly, I could not tell you right now how many seats are available. But if there are any, you need to get your name in now and how many seats you want. Bring a couple of friends. It's taking place Wednesday. Doors open at 6 at the St. Louis Comedy Club. The St. Charles Comedy Club in St. Charles. Be looking forward to seeing you and be a chance to get a better understanding of how you can have a state run without state income tax. You can do it. Something like a dozen states do it. And Missouri's been pushing for it, but we have people that keep getting in the way. We need to figure out how to move them out. Now, reference the illegals in our nation. Trump is doing everything he can, along with the ICE and so forth, to deport all the illegals. Many should have been deported previously. Many more are now being deported, despite the lawfare that you were hearing from Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, as to what they're trying to do to keep Trump from doing this. And in fact, if you look at what he's able to accomplish at this point and where he hopes to be going, I want you to listen to White House spokesman Miller.
The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy by the Democrat Party.
It was, and actually an attack on our nation. They were letting all of these illegals in, unvetted, unchecked, and basically flying them anywhere they wanted to go in the country. And that was also boosting the population in various parts of the nation. So if they're still there when a census comes around next time, that state might get more representation in Congress. As you well know, each state gets only 2 senators. But as far as number of representatives in the House of Congress, total of 435, based upon a population and a division within your state as to how many representatives you get. That's why California has so many. Although this time around, they might actually lose some. And other states like Texas and Florida could pick up some. And don't forget that Biden basically gave them, the illegals, an app that they could download on their phone from anywhere in the world and show up at our border and say, I have this app on my phone that says I'm entitled to come in. And we were letting them in under that devious plan he created. And I cannot fail to mention 300,000 minimum, 300,000 children that we know came into our nation, and we don't know where they are. We don't know if they're alive. We don't know what they're being held for child labor or if they're in sex dens. This is what the Joe Biden administration left as a legacy. Decades from now, we might begin to get the full story. Maybe even sooner. But it's going to come too late for these children. Now, in the midst of all this, here comes Hakeem Jeffries, and he wants you to believe that the Democrats have always been about a secure border. We really have. We really have. I beg to pardon.
Republicans are proposing new spending for border security funding in this forthcoming budget bill. Is that something that your conference will support, that sort of security investment?
We have to look at the particulars. We believe that we need to secure the border, make sure that it is safe and strong.
Really?
That the rule of law, consistent with America as a country of a nation of laws, is fully and completely implemented at the border. We believe we have a broken immigration system, and we need to fix it in a comprehensive and in a bipartisan way. And we also believe that we must always defend dreamers, farm workers, and law-abiding immigrant families and protect them from aggressive overreach by the Trump administration. Those are the principles that we have consistently articulated publicly and privately to our Republican colleagues as it relates to finding some common ground on the immigration issue.
No, you have not. You have not articulated we believe in securing our borders. You've done everything but secure the borders. You have articulated that we want to have a plan for the dreamers, and we need we have a new rework of our immigration plan. Those are two separate items. You close the borders and no one else comes in, then you deal with the new immigration plan for those who are inside, and if they're here illegally, we should still be able to deport them. How does Hakeem Jeffries pull it off like that, speaking out of both sides of his mouth? Because he's speaking to the group that he needs to, telling them what they need to hear. And he thought for an overall picture, I'll make it clear that Democrats have always been about secure borders. You want to show me that by the numbers that have crossed during the Biden administration? You've never been about secure borders. But you can go back to Obama. Obama had made it very clear we should not have illegals in our country. We have laws.
The Bush administration has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. And so what we have to do is create a comprehensive solution to the problem. Now, I have already stated that as president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable.
That was Obama in a debate with Hillary Clinton as they were vying for who's going to lead the Democrat Party in that election. Speaking forcefully and strong about we need to have borders and border security. Again, it's all in the timing. They will swing back around. You watch. Whatever they can do to get what they want, they will rephrase and act like, never said that. Never said that. But you can't escape it, can you? Indirect talks over the weekend between the U.S. and Iran, and some direct talks, we're told. President Trump was asked for his evaluation.
Can you give us an update on Iran?
Well, we're going to be doing it very shortly. Iran also
It was another way. I met with a different group of people in Iran, and we'll be making a decision on Iran very quickly.
We heard a readout from both sides, from the United States and the Iranian side, that were very positive words. And we know that there is a follow-up meeting scheduled for 7 days later, this coming Saturday. Location seems to be determined to be in Europe, and making it easier on our special envoy, Steve Witkoff. And so we've heard, again, positive words come out of the meeting. But let's be real that the president is very sanguine on the Iranian threat. In the past, he's called this regime a fanatical and radical regime. Our president is very clear on the nature of this regime. And at the same time that these talks are taking place, we know that the United States has brought in a tremendous amount of military assets into the region. And this is also at the same time where we've seen 3 weeks of an aerial assault on Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen. So I think the message to the Iranians is loud and clear. We're giving you the path to diplomacy, but beware that the military option is very credibly on the table.
And in fact, right in your face, we've got 2 aircraft carriers in the Red Sea, in the Middle East region. Got numerous forces ready to go, but we're trying to find a way to get around military action. And Iran wants to avoid that if they can, not just from us, but from Israel. The next talks apparently are going to be held in Rome this coming weekend. General Jack Keane, 4-star retired general, says we've got to keep this in mind.
I think what their position is going to be is they're going to want to freeze the program in place, something that they have done in the past, and that would keep it close to the threshold capability within a couple of weeks of having a nuclear weapon. They may give up some enriched uranium. They may give up some centrifuges. They likely will not give up any of their secret sites and their deeply buried sites, but that's completely different from where the administration position is. They want them to voluntarily dismantle your entire program, give up the highly enriched uranium, give up the centrifuges, give up the facilities themselves, give up the missiles that are going to deliver these systems, and then, and this is key, anywhere, anytime inspections. In other words, independent inspectors determine where to go to look and verify what is taking place. The Iranians have never granted that, and that is one of the reasons why we're in this position today with the Iranians so close to a nuclear weapon, because they let inspectors go to X, but meanwhile at Y is a secret site, and they're continuing to develop nuclear weapons.
And that is the issue. We have never been inside their facilities where they're actually developing nuclear weapons. The United Nations, under the plan that Obama had signed off with Iran and other nations, supposedly UN would have access to it. Unannounced inspections anywhere we want to go. That was never allowed. The closest they came to it is a white paper that was handed them by the Iranians. Here's what we're doing. So now you know what we're doing. No, you don't. You don't. You had to go back to Ronald Reagan. Trust but verify. We were not able to verify, and I have no trust in the Iranian leadership. Coming up, dealing with the tariffs. More ground is breaking on that. More nations are going to realize, and have already realized, we need to get on board with Donald Trump here. It's that vital. As always, stick with us, and reminding you, lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
I want to tell you more about Wellington Environmental's dustless blasting services. Wellington can blast paint, grease, graffiti, even stripes off parking lots. Truly amazing and powerful. But can Wellington blast something more sensitive? Yes, Wellington can use dry ice to blast soot and odors off smoke-damaged surfaces right after a fire. Currently, Wellington uses dry ice to clean mold off wood inside a home. Why? Well, dry ice immediately disappears, turns into a vapor. That means no mess to clean up, no damaged surfaces. You need to check with Wellington, always researching and practicing with new, better, faster, safer equipment and products for you. And it's very easy to schedule an estimator for your next project. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 644-4930. Be well with Wellington. McGuire Moving is Silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com. There is a speakeasy in Cottleville, but you need a passcode. So go to the Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook, get your passcode to one of the hottest new spots in the area. Amazing food, 7 hotel rooms, 2-bedroom penthouse, and a speakeasy. I got my passcode. Get yours. Let's enjoy the speakeasy in Cottleville. You get your code by going to Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook. Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook.
This is News Talk STL.
Jesse got trapped in a coal mine, digging in the dark black pearl. Jesse got trapped in a coal mine, never did marry his girl. There ain't nowhere and there ain't no light, and there ain't no way to make it out alive. His wedding was planned for the 5th of July, but Jesse got trapped in a coal mine and never did marry his girl.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
We've been very clear. We do believe, and we know, when it comes to auto, when it comes to heavy truck and agricultural implement, we know that tariffs will influence these companies to do the right thing and reinvest in this country and reinvest in factories in this country. You know, it's interesting, Stellantis, as Trump was announcing the tariff, announced at the same moment that they were going to lay off 800 people. That didn't change as Trump was making an announcement. To me, it's just trying to bait people. At the end of the day, we believe that Stellantis and these companies will bring work back because of these tariffs. I mean, look what they've done without them. Since NAFTA was inception in 1993, we've lost 90,000 manufacturing facilities in this country, millions of jobs. And these weren't, low-end jobs. These were jobs that paid decent wages, had good benefits.
Good benefits, decent wages. Manufacturing jobs have been lost, plants that have been shuttered. And we're now in the process of turning all that around under the Trump administration. The speaker you were listening to, United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain. He's in favor of everything Trump is doing about trying to get more money brought into the U.S. And in fact, by imposing these tariffs, knowing that a lot of these companies are going to turn around and come back. And just today, NVIDIA announced plans to build AI supercomputers in Texas. They're going to invest up to $500 billion in AI production within our nation. Barron's is reporting this. NVIDIA is an AI powerhouse, has apparently already commissioned more than 1 million square feet for manufacturing in Arizona and Texas, and will start building and testing its Blackwell chips and AI supercomputers. This marks the first time NVIDIA will be producing this within the U.S. Do you think they would have done it under Biden? They had 4 years they could have. No. You know why? Because he said we're going to start hitting bigger tariffs on these chips and so forth coming into America. They say they've already started developing some at the Phoenix, Arizona location, but they're going to build others in Houston, Dallas, mass production, expected to ramp up within the next 12 to 15 months. They also point out, according to video, over the next 4 years, they plan to produce up to $500 billion worth of AI infrastructure in the U.S. And you've got other partnerships they're making with other industry-leading companies that will be deepening their tie with NVIDIA and therefore the U.S. This is a win. You can't clarify it anything but a win. It's not a tie. We're actually getting them to come in and open up their efforts to build AI supercomputers and chips in our nation. Why? Because they're worried about the tariff war. Trump made it clear. Chips coming in from outside are going to be hit with bigger tariffs unless we could find a way to work around it. Their decision is, well, hell, we'll just put $500 billion, $500 billion into AI and chip production inside the U.S. Therefore, we won't have to deal with this. You know what that suggests? Keep in mind, it's not just Trump in place. They see this as a coming age. Whoever follows Trump, be it Vance, Vice President Vance, or another Republican, or maybe even a Democrat at that point, I doubt it, but at some point it could happen. They recognize it's better to do business inside our nation. And once they made that investment and they're here, it's going to be very hard to pry them out. And the way you could do it is exactly what previous Democrat administrations have done. Overregulate and overtax. That's exactly what happened. That's why so many lost. In the first term that Trump had, he was able to get a lot of them to come back. If he'd been able to continue, they would have continued coming back. But as soon as Biden was in charge, they cut off the spigot. Thought, well, we don't have to worry about it. We can produce it cheaper elsewhere. We can send it into the U.S. and make more money. Trump said, we're not going to play that game. Kevin O'Leary, of course, from the Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, is talking about how China has to be dealt with on tariffs.
The big behemoth, Stuart, we've been talking about so much is China. We've got to figure out where they sit in trying to come into the narrative. I mean, right now, even over, I want 400%, but that's just bombastic. 100+% wipes out all trade. And so there's boats on the water waiting to bring in product. There's debate about technology like Apple phones, all this stuff. Xi at some point has to take the olive branch that's been offered twice over the weekend by Trump and say, okay, let's start talking. I don't think it's helping him because he doesn't have the option to sell T-bills. People keep saying, oh, he's going to be disruptive by selling T-bills. That will enhance the price of his currency and make his products even less competitive worldwide. That will devastate his economy, which is already on the brink.
Already on the brink, and another shoe has just dropped. I'll come to that in a moment. But in talking to Stuart Varney of Fox News, O'Leary got asked a question.
But does America hold real heavy-duty cards in the negotiation with China?
It does, Stuart, because all that stuff that's made in the factories, almost 39% of it's consumed by Americans. If he can't sell the stuff, those people don't have jobs. And that's going to be a bad outcome for him, really bad outcome, and he knows it. That is the one massive leverage that we have at the table. If this goes on too long, there'll be unemployment or there's going to be massive inflation as he prints money to pay these people in his country. It's 100% stalemate. He's got to come to the table.
He does have to come to the table. And he is at the table in Vietnam. That's right. The Chinese dictator arrived in Vietnam today. Top priority, trying to ensure Hanoi support as Beijing faces these soaring tariff rates. Now, here's what happened with Vietnam. In addition to imposing tariffs on China, Vietnam was among the first countries to send a delegation to negotiate with Trump during the Liberation Day, as Trump called it. He claimed he had a phone call with the Communist Party chief that Hanoi, quote, wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they're able to make an agreement with the U.S. How fast do you think that grapevine story got back to China? Oh, immediately. You know that. So therefore, Xi shows up in Hanoi. He addressed the Vietnamese people in a column published by the national newspaper in which he emphasized their identities as, quote, friendly socialist neighbors, and emphasized that, quote, a tariff war will produce no winner. Well, the Vietnamese have already decided we can't go to war against the U.S. We will lose. So the tariff war comment is primarily a reference to the ongoing tensions between D.C. and Beijing over Trump's policies. Trump did announce tariffs on every trade partner as of April 2nd, which, if you recall, he labeled Liberation Day. So Xi arrived in Vietnam after a period of silence regarding the tariffs. He has had lower speaking. Members of his party speak out in what some call the wolf warrior diplomacy. He doesn't need to say anything. He has them do the speaking. But we all know they don't say a word unless it's approved by him. He did speak Friday with the Spanish Prime Minister, again trying to get them to saddle up with them. They'd already made overtures to Australia and the same to the European Union. Join us against the U.S. Not one of them has done so. They realize we got to deal with Trump and the U.S. That's where the goods are going to be most valuable, and we're going to be able to sell more. If we can't sell more, doesn't make a difference what the tariffs are. We don't have a market. Trump knows exactly how to negotiate the art of the deal. He knows the pressure points. Coming up, Whoopi Goldberg and her view of what is right or what is wrong. I cannot wait.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
Question: are you looking to unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence for your business? I want you to meet my friends at PRI Global, named by the St. Louis Business Journal as a leading IT consulting firm. 25 years helping local and worldwide companies. PRI Global has a free survey to determine where your company stands in your AI journey. You simply go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. And I also have a phone number, so get ready to copy that number. And I'll remind you that PRI Global has its own AI lab, creating, adapting, developing, pushing the boundaries for what AI can do for you. Here's the number, 636-689-0545. 636-689-0545. Or visit priglobal.ai. priglobal.ai. Here's great news. Napoli Kirkwood is now open. So that means fine dining right in the heart of Kirkwood. So you have the original Cafe Napoli in downtown Clayton, Napoli 2, Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, plus Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, and now adding Napoli Kirkwood. What a great place to dine. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. Renewal by Anderson is having a huge sale. Buy one, get one 50% off. Renewal has the most 5-star reviews in St. Louis, is the Post-Dispatch Window Retailer of the Year, winning the J.D. Power Award 5 years in a row, plus the nation's best warranty. For a limited time, buy one, get one 50% off. Details at rbastl.com. rbastl.com. Renewal by Anderson. You've worked hard for your money, so protect it. Meet my friend Bob Leslie and ask about the Gain and Retain Plan. Leslie Consulting, 40 years in the St. Louis area as a leader in brokerage and risk management. Call 314-721-0066, 721-0066. Oh, and ask Bob how he was the L.A. Dodger #1 pick. LeslieConsulting.com.
This is News Talk STL.
Well, I walk into the room, passing out $100 bills, and it kills and it thrills like the horns on my Silverado grill. And I buy the bar a double round of Crown, and everybody's getting down in this town. Ain't never gonna be the same. 'Cause I saddle up my horse and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise, 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. Riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Everybody says, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Well, you know, a 90-day pause doesn't mean anything to anyone because people are, as you say, struggling with everything they're living with on a day-to-day basis. Now you know what we're fighting against. But I also believe that it's very important to remind people that now is the time for each and every one of us to suck it up and make sure that we know what we need to take care of. If you're in an area where the school district is losing, then you got to pay a little more taxes and you got to help the schools out. If you're finding that your libraries are falling apart, you have to give more.
And actually, that's not bad advice from Whoopi Goldberg. Support your local schools, support the local libraries, assuming they're not pushing transgender and such upon your children. Whoopi Goldberg has no context nor contact with the rest of us. We are among the unwashed in her view. She makes $8 million a year from just the View program. Her net worth is north of $30 million, and I'm sure that's way low if she's getting $8 million a year. And I don't know how much that includes or how many houses she has. But here she is saying something that does ring true, that if your school needs more money, you need to vote for supporting the taxes to help the kids. That is, again, assuming that they're actually being taught correctly and the money's not being wasted. And therein lies the issue. I remember specifically one of my grandparents, he told me one time, he said, I never vote for any school tax. I said, why wouldn't you do that? Now, I was not trying to be a smart aleck. I was, at that time, 17. I was just aware of how valuable that was to a school district. And, of course, at that time, I don't know if we had all of the fraud and the scams we have going on now. I know, as far as I saw from my education, kids were being taught the basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. You're right, I left the A out. That's the way it was done then. But his attitude was, and this is what floored me, he said, I don't have any kids in the schools. Why should I pay for it? I said, but Granddad, and here's where I'm borderline, not trying to be smart aleck about it, but just raising the question. But you did have kids in the school district, and when your kids were in the school district, my mom and others, someone else who didn't have kids was paying for her education as well. Well, that was then. This is now. End of discussion. There was a time, as you well know, that you could not discuss politics with anyone else. They were not going to discuss it with you. Politics is my business, not your business. Who I vote for is my business, not yours. And you certainly don't discuss religion. Now everybody wants to say everything they can on all those topics and more. We've come a long ways from that point. And I'm not so sure we've come in a good way from it. When I think about how the money has been abused, though, that we probably did not know at that point, but we now know, and that's through Doge. We're getting more and more evidence. But here's the way the mainstream legacy media wants to treat it. The New York Times, Doge is far short of its goal and still overstating its progress. Now, I'm not positioned to question that. I'm just giving you the way they present it. It may be short of its goal, and I do not know if they're overstating what progress. But any progress is better than where we have been. For instance, cutting millions off our Social Security network that comes with it, Medicare, Social Security care, welfare, things of that nature, simply because they were given a Social Security number by the Biden administration when they're not worked a day in this country. They were just automatically giving it to them. Or giving it to those X thousand that were over 130 years of age. Or to those between 1 and 5 years of age. Fraud is fraud. And those things you can't say, oh, my bad, that's just an accounting mistake. No, that's a clear intent to defraud the public. I'm looking at another report headline from the Washington Post. Some Doge staffers hold high-powered jobs at multiple federal agencies. They might. I don't know the details on that. I have not seen that anywhere else, and I would like to read that story to you, but here's what happened. Oh, the Washington Post has a pay page. If I'm going to read it, I have to pay them. That ain't going to happen. I'm not going to give money to the Washington Post. I will find that somewhere else at some point when I have time for it. I do know that we have a New Mexico congresswoman who says what we need to do is go in there and not just clear out Doge, but get rid of Musk.
We are putting you on notice, Elon Musk. You are fired. The American people are firing you, and you must clear out and get out of this office. Today, myself and Senator Warren are introducing legislation to ensure that this kind of corrupt abuse and grift and scam artists coming into the federal government through a special government employee can never happen again.
Yeah, well, it has been happening, and it continues. Musk and his team have been uncovering waste, abuse, and fraud. It is a thing that should be applauded and praised. It is actually saving even that New Mexico congresswoman money for her and her family. But again, it's anything that has to do with Trump, we must berate and call it sinful and wrong, even though it's beneficial. Speaking of things that are beyond the pale to some extent, I don't know how closely you follow this story on the attack on the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, specifically upon his house. There is a man accused of breaking in, setting fire to the Pennsylvania governor's residence. The governor and his family were sleeping in that same building. The guy claims he has a harboring hatred for Shapiro. He said, if I could have, I would have beaten the governor with a hammer. Shapiro, of course, Democrat. Shapiro was probably going to be picked by Kamala to be her vice presidential candidate. If she had chosen him, it's very possible Kamala would have won the White House. This guy that is charged, who actually turned himself into police, being held on numerous charges. I mean, he not only set fire to the house, but threatened directly that he was going to kill them and would if he had the opportunity. They now say that he was receiving treatment at a hospital previous to his arrest, and of course that will continue. They still don't know exactly how or why he went about it, but he admits setting fire using Molotov cocktails, which he fashioned, and is the latest threat of violence against an American elected official. Shapiro, 51 years of age, one of the several candidates, as I pointed out, that were being considered by Harris to be VP. There is nothing in what we've seen so far that says this guy wanted to go after Shapiro because of his political beliefs. It's not clear at all why he did. And I'm not sure we'll ever get a clear answer with this kind of person. Shapiro in a news conference said, this type of violence is not okay. We have to be better than this. And I would agree. You're going to hear a lot from the left about the attack on Shapiro and his family. And I have no issue with that. But how many on the left still talk about or remember or even incite in their story, this one right from CNN, in the first 12 to 15 paragraphs, there's not one word mention of another politician that was targeted, other than Gretchen Whitmer, that she had supposedly been a victim of an assassination attempt. And then after that, they mentioned Trump, a Republican, last year. They just kind of slide that in. Trump was a former president and wanting to run again when someone wanted to assassinate him. We have crazies in this country on both sides of the political aisle. You have to do what I told my children when they were growing up. As what my dad had told me, and I'm sure his father told him. Be careful who you choose as friends and relations. You might not know all what they stand for, but if you stand with them very long, then you are tainted by whatever they stand for, especially if it's bad. It is as simple as back to the, if you dog lies down with fleas, you lie down with a dog, you're going to get fleas. It is that simple. Now, I want to ask you, how many of you miss the cackle of, you know who, the former vice president? Every time she would say something she thought was funny, she would start cackling and laughing. Well, with that in mind, as a member on CNN says, this Musk laugh, this is so inane.
One of the things that he has is he loves dank memes and jokes, and he loves to make jokes himself and then laugh at his own jokes. And then all the people who work for him laugh at him, and therefore he thinks he's funny. And he's not funny. He's sometimes funny, I guess. I never thought so. But he likes to do this. He likes to engage in sort of these juvenile little pranks. And when he's not doing that, he likes to insult people. And all kidding aside, we don't mind being called these names. But it's a 53-year-old man does not do this. I mean, or this one does. And so he just this is what he likes. He likes to slag people. I guess it's part of video game culture or something, but I find it unusual.
Unusual? And you find it disturbing that Musk will make a joke and then kind of laugh at it himself? That is Kara Swisher on CNN on Elon's personality. I don't really know that much about Kara Swisher. Maybe she has no sense of humor. But have you not told a joke and that you laugh at the same time as others are? If not, you're a very poor joke teller, I'll tell you that. You got to get engaged. But I never heard her come out and complain about Kamala Harris cackling about any joke she made, and in many times there was no humor except for showing how out of touch she was. I want you to have fun. I want you to laugh. I want you to smile. And I don't care what party you are or anything else about you. I want you to have a good, fun life for you and your family. And we're at a time of season that really counts. We're in the midst of Passover, which started this last weekend for our Jewish friends, and marking their Exodus, and then the Passover, that the doors that were not marked, all those inside would be taken by God. So the Lord would pass over. They put marks on their door. And we're coming up on the birth of Christ, the resurrection of Christ this Sunday. I think somewhere within those two stories there should be a lot of laughter, joy, and happiness. Now, I know Ramadan is also included in that time frame. And there's also laughter and joy in that ethnic group as well, that religious group. But there are inside each of them those who prefer to kill and steal, laughing at you, not with you. As always, thanks for listening. Remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can follow Larry on Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.